Well, I just sat in this really lovely part of the woods, and well, I've had a bit of a thing. I've been watching, I don't know, lots of intellectual dark web and rebel wisdom and stuff like that, which I've come across. I just thought I wanted to say something that's actually, like something that happened to me that was then proved to me, which was about understanding forgiveness, primarily. And while I'm at, so I've got a couple of other things to do while I'm here. You'll see that shortly. But yes, I realised it was many years ago. I think I was about 19. I'm 46 now. I was having this sort of type of thinking that was not based on the idea of de Bono's lateral thinking. That was something I came across while I was involved in it. But to the thing where when you're walking along, you're no longer going to the place where you're walking to. You're purely going in your mind to small truths, really, simple things you realise, and then you build on that, and then if this then that, maybe, and it's like another area of thoughts opened up through that particular truth that you discovered. I realise amongst all of this that people still arguing about whether truth exists at all, in some philosophical, arenas. It's something that's, still debated. And, well, I can tell you things, things certainly can be true. In a thought sense, and in an obvious sense as well, obviously. Anyway, so you do enough experiments with an idea that gives you grounding from which then you can send out little lines of inquiry. Anyway, so this is something that I got into. It was all consuming for me, and also I did some, not collaborative, some confirmational research, sort of hunting for confirmation of specific beliefs that I'd achieved, it's very difficult to believe anything. The way I see it is, I don't believe anything I don't know. And I don't know anything until I've done what I consider to be enough satisfying grounding in that particular idea, or and well, let's get back to the point, and I'll get on as well. I've got the dog here. Hi, doggy. About the forgiveness thing, because it completely changed my entire life. I came to the conclusion that I know there's many it's a difficult thing to say, but I came to the conclusion that I was, even in my decision making, that my decision making is governed by various external and internal forces, energies sometimes, flows of things, whatever, that my decision that I make then could be about urge, or whatever energy causes you to make a particular decision rather than another one, whether it's moral, liberal, or conservative. And I realised that I was in a way hypnotised by partly myself and partly everything that I'd ever experienced, and that the urges that I had were causing me to make decisions in a certain way, and other influences like I've just explained. Anyway, I realised this was going on for everybody, and that in realising that this was happening to me, I didn't really break the spell of the hypnotism, but it gave me perspective on people, and I have this thing where people are inherently brilliant. It doesn't matter who you are, if you've learned to speak a language, and I work with learning disabilities, most of them understand everything that I say, and understanding a language is probably the most intelligent thing that anybody ever does. All the university and all the rest of it, it's academic, as they say. So that actually I realised that, if I'm making sense, that we're way more intelligent than we realise. That our minds are way ahead of us, and all of us are looking at each other and communicating with each other on a much deeper level than we realise. And I see this going on. I know this is happening. When you wink, you look up, you move your head when you think in a certain way. All this is communicated, and all of it's completely understood by everybody. Pretty much, unless I'm seriously impaired, sometimes genetic or other, just physical damage and things like that, of course. That's obvious. However, we have this deep level of communication, and we talk to ourselves as well. Like, we move our fingers and we call them digits, and sometimes when you're thinking, you'll realise you're twitching various different parts of yourself. And this is something that I started to listen to and learn about, and I don't, even after all these years of doing it, I don't really understand much of it, in a funny sort of way, because it is what it is. But I see it going on, and I see it going on between everybody. And this seems to cause a massive connectivity already that we mostly ignore in some way, or don't realise is happening. Anyway, so basically I realised that this intelligence within us is somehow trying to get to us, to nurture us, and temper us as well, maybe, to see it and to get to know it. And people call it the higher self and all that. It's all been around for a long time. And I know that there's many people out there who know exactly what I'm talking about and are involved in exactly the same way as me. And one of the things that helped me with connectivity to other people was realizing this thing was happening to them and me, and also coupled with this point of forgiveness, which I'm going to say, whereby I was hypnotized by everything to make decisions, good or bad, and that everybody else was as well, whether they were murdering or whatever, horrible, devastating things, they're doing somebody else's bidding, whatever the energies are that caused them to be in that situation, killing somebody or doing anything to harm anybody else or anything, was actually, they were locked into it. It was a complete hypnotic thing, and that this is going on for everybody. And it's very difficult to make moral decisions when you're possessed in one way with righteousness or whatever, something else, fear or anger. And and when I realised this, I'm walking through these sting nettles. When I realised this, I actually had this epiphanous moment, or a key. It was like a key that unlocked something in me, and I felt it. Yeah. And I realised that there must be people out there that have unlocked this key, and that I could go and I was gonna meet somebody. I was gonna look into them, and they were gonna see me, and I was gonna see them as that core, just intelligence, the thing that possesses us. And so I went on a journey, and other things happened in between, which I'll explain in another video, which are incredible journeys of me facing fears and things like that. And I ended up going to Holland because I didn't need to go to Holland. I could have gone to anywhere where there were lots of people, but I thought in Holland that there would be some people that would have thought this out and would know about this. And lo and behold, I get there and I'm going out walking to deliberately try and find these people, and it was even more profound than I could have imagined, and more grounding in that it grounded that thought that I had. It instilled that thought in me and became a belief. And it had already sort of become a belief. I knew it. And but anyway, yeah, it was cemented. And what happened was I was walking down the street, and I was looking in a window, some juggling stuff or something like that, and I was into that sort of thing. And I had this weird feeling, and I can only describe it. I have to put my bag there. I was looking in the window here, and it felt like an energy, something grabbed hold of the top of my head, and my head went out like that, and I went round like this, And as I got round to about here, peripherally, I saw somebody else doing the same thing on the other side of the street. His head came round at exactly the same time, like something had got hold of us both and had gone like this. And I turned and I looked into this guy's eyes, and it was like, you know, ecstasy, like a massive rush of endorphins. Incredible. And like I say, that cemented this idea of being able to completely connect with somebody else. No judgments, no, is he intelligent enough to do this? Nothing like that. Okay? And I'm a bit tired now. I really wanted to share that with everyone, and I'm sure I'll make other videos regarding that. It connects into many other things, and I think I'll allow everyone else to comment and think about that. And now I'm going to explain why I've come to the woods, because I'm a bit lost. I know where I am altogether, but I'm a bit lost as to my orientation as to the deer that sadly my dog caught yesterday, and I believe it was because it had a broken leg, because it was on its own in the bracken, as you can see. And yeah, he basically caught it, which is the only deer he's ever caught. He loves chasing them, gives him a lot of exercise. I'm not altogether happy about it, but it is natural, and I can't really walk him anywhere and let him off the lead where there aren't some deer somewhere. He doesn't always find some, but you know, fairly often. And so I'm going back today. Well, what happened was, it was horrible. I had to get a huge log, and it was a big log. You'll probably see it if I'm still talking when we get there. I had to take a huge log and basically drop the corner of it on the deer's head to stop it suffering. First I thought it was a badger or something. I think it's over this way somewhere. Anyway, so I've come back today to field dress the deer. I'm going to cut it up, bag it for the dog to eat. You know, if animals haven't eaten it all, if I can find it, because I'm wandering around, and I think this is a trap here somebody made. You know, this is Goodwood Woods, where there's a lot of deer hunting and stuff like that, and I've actually found a big pit where they've been killing and pelting deer, and they hadn't dug it back in yet. Anyway, it's horrible, but yeah, so I'm looking for the deer, and I'm going to field dress it. Anyway, so yeah, I don't really want to go further into what I said in a way, because I want to put that out there, and I'm sure there's other people that made videos about it. I haven't seen any, and it's just the lack of documentation about, you know, actual things that happen, rather than sort of theoretical or, you know, theological sort of things. It's all up in the air, you know, whereas actually there are things that I know, and I wanted to explain that, and just to talk to people about that. You won't want to see the deer thing and all that, really, I don't think. Maybe some of you do, but I can't find it at the moment anyway. I'm quite tired. So yeah, it's a little bit about me. I have a couple of other videos in my channel. I don't do a lot of this sort of thing, and I debated with myself whether I was going to talk about that particular subject, and I just wanted to put that out here at the moment. I think it's time, for more. I mean, I've spoken about it for years, ever since then. So, and seen many people now, connected with people over distance that, where I've gone looking. I went to London one day. I was hitching on one side of the road, and when the other vehicle came, it was very early in the morning. When a vehicle came on the other side of the road, I'd cross over the road, like I'd go to Portsmouth, or I was going to go to London, and I was a skateboarder at the time. And part of this is worth saying, because I hitched into London, and as I was skateboarding along at one point, I looked across and saw this lady in a market a long way away. And we looked at each other, and we just connected over distance. There was no need for a nod, anything. It wasn't like she was looking at me, ooh, what's that? It was like, wow. There's loads of deer up there, you can't see it. I'm not sure. Anyway, so I was just looking for people. I saw about 7 people that day, and I must have made eye contact with thousands of people. Hundreds, whatever. And this one point, I'm skateboarding on the South Bank, and that's all I did for years, was skateboard and stuff. I was sitting there on the South Bank, and this guy came and sat down next to me, and he was a photographer, and I guess he'd been taking photos of, this is way before mobile phones or anything like that. He was taking photos of stuff up there, and and he asked me what I was doing there, which was odd, because I was sitting on a skateboard in the South Bank where people skateboard. And I said, you know what? And I explained to him all the story I've told you about the understanding of forgiveness, that it's not a moral duty. You should do it. You should forgive, but that it's completely logic, and that connectivity comes after you realise that logic. And then that I explained I went to Holland and connected to the person and all that stuff. And, he said to me, in the end, he was taking the mick out of me, giving me a nudge, and he said, oh, scan those people over there. He just came up with that term, amusingly. And so basically, I just looked at everybody that was looking my way, and there was a group of what looked like South Americans, like a coach load of South Americans, and I connected with this guy in the centre of all these people. It was oddly that he was in the centre of them, like he was the point of orientation for them, and we connected. And this guy that I connected with put his hand up in the air and pointed at the guy, and gesticulated for him to listen to me. And this guy could not believe it. He started offering me money and things like that, which I needed at the time, because I'd gone up there on a shoestring, and I didn't have enough money to get back home on the train. Anyway, but I said to him, no, I can't possibly take money for that. It's that's just something that what could you say? It's between us, and there's no need for that. But he was that bowled over by the experience, as I was as well, because it was so wonderfully succinct, and it cemented all of what I had been through with him. So immediately he was blown away, and obviously that changed his life. And I've got no idea who that was. I mean, That would be amazing, wouldn't it? In these modern times with social media and everything, if I actually put enough of it out there that I found that guy and then he corroborated the story, that would be incredible. Anyway, so that's essentially, it was a journey that I went on to just see people. Another example is a guy in a train, and he was in the train, and I was walking on the other side of the ticket office, trying to find a ticket that looked like I could say, oh, I've got the wrong train or something, and get back home. You know, I didn't want to bunk the train. I'm not into doing illegal things or anything like that. I just, you know, it's something I try to avoid. Anyway, I'm really tired now. It's lovely to talk to everybody. I've spoken to many people in the past. Occasionally I meet somebody and they seem really receptive, and we hit it out, you know. And I've got many more adages to this, so I should do some more, but I'm not that well. I suffer from various conditions, and I find energy hard to muster, and I'm sometimes better and sometimes it's worse. I've just been through a real uncomfortable patch. Anyway, I just wanted to say, you know, I'm putting that out there, and yeah, lovely. Okay, nice to speak to everybody, and goodbye to the woods. Now I'm going to go and find a deer and do that work as well. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Wow, well, I found the deer eventually. I nearly gave up because I couldn't find it. Here's the dog, and there's the huge log. I mean, that's a big dog. I don't know if you can see, but that log there is about 4. That's not the right thing to say. Let's say it's a good foot and a bit by across the rings, and then about 2 foot long. It's huge. Anyway, it's a small deer, fair enough. Obviously, I've just discovered it, and as you can see, there's no chance of getting near it. I'm not gonna field dress that deer with this going on, you know. Maybe you can see it had a broken leg, and I think that's why the dog caught it in the first place. He found the deer for me, actually. Yes, I mean, I should say something. I don't know. It was difficult to return here. I nearly didn't do it. I was gonna stay at home and not do it, you know. But I was just watching my previous video back about in people being connected already in the background, in a really deep way, you know. And I wanted to add a couple of things to that. That I realised that what's the other? I'm going the other way. We're actually, oh dog, come on doggy. We're actually incredible scientific tendrils of this intelligence. Like, we've all got something to bring back, you know. We've got 5 fingers, eyes and a mouth, so we're looking out for it, you know, and it's developed in us, you know. I believe that it developed in some sort of animal life, maybe a bird, an eagle, something like that. And it knew about itself. It got intelligent enough, life itself, to then know about itself and to understand this communication way before humans existed. And gradually it has developed, and it's like it's almost, I don't want to say it gave birth to us because that's a bit, but I and it can't be too specific anyway, because we don't want arguments, do we? But I think, it's yes, it knows about itself, and it's in us, and it's trying to help us see it, but it's using us to look further. What we do is like I say, we've got these senses, and not only that, but we build machines so that we can look even further into things or further into space. And we spend billions of pounds on trying to work out essentially what the fuck's going on. Because I don't think life knows about the universe, and it's desperate to get a grip on it in some way, and so are we. And it's using us to look at every angle. I mean, from every angle of science, every angle of psychology, every part of our development and its development. And I just wanted to say, I'm really tired now. I shouldn't have bothered. But of course, I was watching another video back, and I thought, well, there's some profound things missing there. So I thought I'd add them in this next part. I might just splice them together. You'll find out when you watch the video. Splicing. We haven't done that for a while. Okay. I think that's something I wanted to share with everybody. And I just want to go as far as to say, I know that. And it means that we can have an actual understanding of a true God of life. And I believe that all of the memory is stored within all of us and in life itself. That the whole thing carries this wave of being, and while we're alive, essentially consciously looking at it for the time we're alive, and all life and people's lives overlap, and within it there's this communication all the time. In fact, sometimes different factions of the central computer actually meet, and this has happened to me, and before I've spoken to this person, I don't want to call it body language because you get all mixed up with psychology and body language. I'm talking about computer digiting and complete downloading of things that I met this lady, and our beings went for a very fast dance where we obviously downloaded things to each other, and that was an important meeting for it's another I was with that at the time. Anyway, so this is going on, and it means all sorts of things. And I do talk to people. I've never been filmed talking about it, and I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and it was just lovely the way this person understood everything. I managed to put everything in such a way that there were enough proofs in those thought plateaus and areas or whatever of truth that she completely was just, she said she'd had her mind blown. And I'm not being... one of the reasons you don't want to do this sort of thing is, of course, because, he thinks he knows what's going on, but that's you just have to... we just have to go with that. I just... never mind all that. Let's just see the things that are real, and let's build on those, and let's feel that together, because we can all look at each other and go, wow, and just sort of almost drop everything. And it sounds obvious, I suppose, when you think about it like that, but it's just a lot of things that aren't quite coming together, in the periphery for me, with all of my studying. So I just really wanted to communicate that with everyone. And yes, I don't know, I was going to go into a personal one about my teeth then, because I always film from this angle and everyone's like looking at my teeth, they're horrible. But my partner really likes them. And when I was a kid, I had loads of braces and that, and they never worked. And I was, let me just explain. I just thought of this now. I was in a meditation one day. I've been meditating for 25 years or so. Every day. I'll say that in another video and explain that sort of thing. Anyway, this one time, I was in a meditation, sort of half blacked out, or in between worlds, really deep. And this happened to me sometimes, where I just came round on the floor of this building. It was like had a polished floor of mud, like the mud had been walked on that much that it had become polished. And I just came round on the ground, and it felt like my face had been stoved in by, well, I'm going to say the butt of a gun. Basically, it felt like when I got up slowly, I looked over to this door, which was like a door of planks, and there was a sort of rotten bit or a broken bit in the plank, and I walked over to it and I looked out and I saw somebody kicking a tin round or something on the ground, and then I looked and there was sort of barbed wire and what looked like sort of 30s buildings, or old, maybe wartime, and that, it seemed in that scenario that it was my last look at life. And I turned and I walked into the darkness, and I looked around the corner and I could see, as I went in, these urinals, those really huge old urinals, those big ones that you see in old films and stuff. And that was it. I blanked out, and I just thought I'd add that because I know it smacks of reincarnation and things like that. I'm far too objective to believe that, and although I somewhat understand that it's totally possible, I've got that far. I I don't subscribe yet. But seeing as I remembered that, I can't even remember why. Oh, I remembered it because of my teeth. That's right. And how my face, it was like it's stoved in, and how I can't seem to change that with these braces. I had 3 of them or whatever. I'm just lucky my partner likes them, you know. Anyway, that's enough for now. It's been a day. Yeah. Say goodbye, Blue. Bye-bye, Blue. Blue. Bye-bye, mate. Yeah, I don't even know if you got on the video because I can't see what's going on. That was a big hill, and I'm not well. Oh my God, I'm actually sweating. You know, the pubic hair between my legs is tying itself in knots. You know, it's not actually as a joke, but it does often. All right, that's enough from me. Thank you for listening. There's more things to clarify. Of course there are, and there's loads of other stories like that about in my meditative state and things. Later on that week, I was in the bath, and I had this overwhelming sort of feeling of grief for whoever that was or whatever that was that I entered into. And I had a breakdown, not in a bad way, in a way, you know, but a sort of positive emotional release, you know. Anyway, so I thought I'd explain that, and it's going on a bit now, isn't it? So I'm gonna. I like it that way. I'm gonna stop now. All right. Love to everyone. Yeah, I'm struggling. I can't carry on like this, really. I had a profound experience which changed my feeling of sort of my heart connectivity, my love. Something really, really uncomfortable happened, and I sensed this darkness, and I'd never realised that was real. And I'd always thought, you know, that didn't exist really, you know, but I felt this entity that was in another room that had come to see somebody else and then gone, literally, like I felt them come and go. And it did something to my heart. It took something away from me. And I'm only just, and this is after 10 or so years, I'm only just really rebuilding that, and really putting this idea of forgiveness and people understanding themselves, and you know, that potentially there are these entities that I think through logic can understand themselves and switch something in them. You know, we all have these. You know, you really want that to happen, don't we? I mean, I don't want that darkness to exist, but it sadly it does, and I just think that it's akin to somebody maybe with a particular condition, you know, and I don't fully subscribe, but, you know, like Asperger's and things like that. I work with people with various conditions of autism and stuff, and, you know, high functioning autism and low function, all sorts of things. And you realise that there are some people that have no emotion in a way, that or no empathy. It's an actual condition, and they seem to be able to get up to all sorts of things potentially. And I think, you know, that sometimes they can be connected to, you know, sort of, I don't know, they could almost be used by dark sort of people or whatever, you know. I don't know. I love them as well. You know, I love the dark people. They don't seem to be part of this thing, but I just want to have a drink of water. I don't know. I just want to know that they're logically forgiven, and it's, you know, if they understand themselves, so they've got themselves into that odd place, which the ultimate shadow sort of thing. They've become the shadow, you know, and I think most people watching this video will probably know about that. It's a Jungian thing, and anyway, I've got into a bit of that myself. You know, I subscribe a bit. I don't. Yeah, I get some. I don't know. I understand some of that stuff. But yeah, let's put it like that. And I think they could suddenly just switch and be like ultimately way better than anyone else, maybe. That's a stupid thing to say, but I'd like to put that out there as well. Anyway, so I've had my heart sort of taken, my energy from there. It's very weird, and I'm really trying to bring that back, you know, and it's very difficult, but I'm getting there, and we've all got some work to do, you know. Okay, lovely to speak to everyone again. I better go, because, you know, I'm going to speak to them, listen to me forever. I'll do something else, you know. I've got loads more things to say that mean all sorts of things to me and everybody, you know. Okay. Lovely. All right. Bye, doggy. You just chased another deer. Okay, I've just been watching the other one back, and I wanted to say something else. Yeah, you know about the dog, I know about that. Okay, and right, I wanted to. It's not a total proof necessarily, but I just wanted to compartmentalise this idea of all the information that's ever happened potentially existing. I know when I worked that out, it was a long time ago, and when I worked that out, I then researched, and then yes, I discovered the Akashic records and stuff, and that was one of my confirmational sort of discoveries. However, recently I had this wonderful thought. I was talking to somebody, and it was like I'd watched this program, and they've been doing this really incredible. I'm into insects. And they're doing this really incredible experiment where they were gathering data on this particular type of butterfly, and it turns out that this butterfly travels something like 5,000 miles from England, I think it's in somewhere up north, all the way to, I believe, West Africa, lower mid West Africa, and then it comes back. That's 10,000 mile round trip. It turns out that it does it in 5 generations. And I'm not sure if it was, you can look it up, but I'm not sure if it was 5 generations to just go one way and 5 generations back, or whether it was 5 generations to do the whole journey. I can't remember now. However, when I was explaining this to somebody, I obviously realised, as you will, how does it know still where to go? And this is happening all over in life, you know, and it's like the information for those butterflies, they communicate it to each other and then they die, but the wave of butterfly consciousness knows where it's going. It does it all the time, over generations. It's like a, you know, it's a remarkable thing, and I just wanted to bring that together with the human thing, because it's so similar, and that I don't consider it, you know, necessarily. I sort of consider it butterfly consciousness. I don't know, you know, but more like you could see it as the intelligence of butterflies, these particular butterflies, and that it has a consciousness. And that's how it manages to carry itself, this consciousness, to West Africa and back through 5 generations or 10, whichever way, I can't remember, which is a bummer, but never mind. And when I was watching the other video back, that's what I remembered, and I wanted to get that out before I forgot about it. Okay, it's really hot here, and I'm in this place, look, where they do all this logging. And sometimes I see lizards and insects and really, really cool stuff, you know, like you do where you go. Anyway, yeah, I just had to add that, and I'm going to go. Okay, I think I'm just going to splice all this stuff together I've worked out. Okay, thanks for listening, everyone. Goodbye. Hi, doggy. Hi.